Welcome to Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and we are starting the Australian stock saddle. Now this is a kind of a, it's a complicated pattern because there's a lot of pieces, but it's not hard to put together. So I'm going to do one version of it. I'm going to do the English version, but I'm going to do Western stirrups instead of using pewter English stirrups, okay? Now, in the back of the pattern section in the book, and this is the book, Australian Stock Saddle. You could get a digital copy on my website or the print book on Amazon. But there's a pattern for doing these saddlebags. I think I've already done them and posted it, so I'm not covering that in this video. There's so much to cover in this video. Alright. Now, the blocking form tool. I do not use the blocking form tool anymore. This is a way for you to get a nice wrinkle-free back in the back of your tree. I don't need it. Some people do, but basically you create the form, you get the skiver wet, you put it here, stick it in there, and then it holds it. And all the instructions for that is in the book. I don't use it anymore, so I'm not going to cover it here. Okay? Next step, or next item. This is pieces common to both. So there's a Western version that has a horn with Western stirrups and Western style fenders. They're not real Western fenders, but it's style. And then there's the English version that has no horn, has English stirrups, and blah, blah. So we're going to do the English version. This is common to both versions, so I need all of this. Alright, this is English version pieces. So I'm going to say right now I need all of this. We'll get a little bit pickier as we go along. This is Western pieces. I technically don't need any of this, but because I want the Western stirrups, I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. That way I don't have to pay, what are they, $10 a pair now for the pewter stirrups. This way, for this saddle, I can make Western, and it's one of those things I love about the saddle pattern is that there's really no rules. Alright, the other thing that I want is this stirrup keeper. This is the Western style stirrup keeper. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. And other than that, I don't really want any of this. So that's done. Now I'm not going to deal with my saddle blanket right now. I'll do that in its own video. I'll do a different style. So I'm just going to put this aside. It won't be covered in this pattern. Alright, now we have, let's do this real quick. This is Western skirts and flaps for the faux stitching and tooling. I'm not tooling and I'm not doing Western, so I don't need that page. This one here, this section in here is for tooling. I'm not going to tool the saddle. I'm probably going to use a rider, and I'm going to use dark brown. And so a rider and dark brown, none of this is going to show. So if I was selling it, then, you know, maybe I would to try and show it off. Okay, so now we have options. And this is for faux stitching. So if you wanted to do the faux stitching, I recommend using this piece anyway so you can get the score line in. But you could pick one or the other of these. It's one kind of has a Z shape, and you don't even have to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and use the V as in Victor shape. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And I don't need the rest of that. Okay. Now this is for the rear facing stitching, faux stitching. So you can pick whatever you want. I'm going to just do this first one here. And so, now that's the quick tour of the pattern. Those are big, you know, big pieces. So now we're going to go back. And we're going to do some simplification here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do for breast collar. I may do a standard martingale, I don't know. So I'm just going to put that aside. I don't know if I'll use it. I will deal with that later. All right, I don't want to do an English style girth. What I want to do is a Western, I'm going to show you how to do a string girth, how to macrame one. So I'll go ahead and do these as an alternative, but I really don't need those. I really don't. Okay, so on your Australian stock saddle, you have what's called knee blocks or pulleys. They're really called pulleys. And you can have front, back, or just front. I'm just going to do front. I'm not going to do the rear pulleys. So these two are for rear pulleys, so I don't need that. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those. I don't need them. That's trash. See how I'm making it simpler? Looked complicated, not anymore. But I do want the front ones. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. Now, we already talked about the how we were doing the faux stitching. So I don't need this if I have this. So it's one or the other. Pick what you want. If you don't want to do the faux stitching, stick with this. If you want to do the faux stitching, do that. All right. So that means I don't need those. Now these are rear pulley covers. I'm not doing rear pulleys, so I don't need those. So now I'm really, it's less and less as we go, isn't it? It's less and less as we go. That and that. All right. I need all of these. Now I don't really need these little strips here. I use leather lace instead, but I do need the 3 pieces of piping. I need the seat cover. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut those. Now I know what these are made of, so I'm kind of cutting off where it says what it is, but it kind of makes sense once you do it why you have skiver and why you have tooling leather. Now this is craft felt. This is craft felt. It works the best. It could be any color. Craft felt. This is aluminum can, so I just cut the top and bottom off an aluminum can, split it open, and then I have some aluminum I can make that out of. So like this. See, you probably guessed what that was. Usually I do Arizona iced tea, but I grabbed one of those. So that's all I need for aluminum. All right, now on this, we do need all of these pieces. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and... So it looks like a really complicated, lots of pieces, lots of decisions. There are lots of decisions to be made, but the pattern itself, like I said, it's not hard to put together. It just has a lot of pieces. All right, so this is all of my different pieces. Pattern pieces. I just dropped one. Okay. We pretty much have, we know, aluminum. So here we go. Aluminum foil or aluminum can is what that is. Pick your favorite. So you guys know that I like to do the glue stick method. So there's the glue, there's the stick. Now I would use the natural curve of the tree. Do it this way. See this? That's the way I would do it. And that's for any of your, anytime you do an aluminum piece of can for a tree, is you always go with that nice natural curve. Okay. Now, I'm going to do, this is all going to be tooling leather. This is felt. This is tooling leather. This is skiver. That is skiver. That is Skyber. Okay, so here is one or the other. So you can put in this fake faux stitching, but the Skyber that I have, it never holds it, so it's kind of a waste of an effort, but you do need the pieces. So I already cut that in half. Okay, what do we got? That's trash. So that's your 2-3 tooling leather, and that is your Skyber, and then this is felt. All right. Now this piece here is made out of craft felt, and it really is just craft felt. This is a little thinner than usual, but it's what I had in brown, and that's what I want. I want it in brown, and we're going to use a sewing machine to do these seam lines. Okay. Oh, the other thing is I would get yourself a zippy to put all the pieces in as you go, and I reuse my zippies. So. Okay. This is Skyber. All of this. And I picked a tan Skyber. Get that out of the way. This is what I picked. That's the right side. Now I want something that doesn't have too many flaws. That would be the trick, because the seat is clearly going to be seen, and the rest of the stuff is not that big a deal. So I'm thinking right in here isn't too bad. It's probably the best one. That's on an edge at least. I don't want to cut in the middle, so flip it over. And that means I want to do it this way, because I said this had the best for the seat. So you guys, this is the way I do it. I use the glue stick method. I print out a new pattern each time, and it's just, for me, it's just easier. Alrighty. I'll try not to get any wrinkles in there. That's lovely. And let's see, looks like that's going to fit right in there. And then, let's see, this is not going to be seen. Oh, that is going to be seen. Those aren't going to be seen. These will be seen. So we'll go ahead and get something a little bit thicker too. Right there. In the trash. This goes back with my leather, and that goes with that in the zippy. Alright, now tricks of the trade here. Tricks of the trade. So your 2 ounce is usually going to, well, your Skyber's pretty expensive, but your 2 ounce has got some value to it. And what I know is that this, and this, seat base, cantle support, and seat top, none of those are going to be seen. And I have the faux stitching version of that, so I don't even need that piece, right? So we're going to out of the way. We do need that piece and that piece, but I don't need this. Now, sometimes I lay out the pattern to try and make it easier for people to cut out the pattern. And that's kind of what I did here. Okay, because I know this is not going to be seen, I can use scrap, as long as it's the same thickness. And so I have, get my, I have, please don't. This is a 2-3 ounce dark brown that I plan to use for those pieces. The thickness is 1 millimeter. Okay, that's actually really nice for tooling leather. And this is a crappy suede. It's junk. And its thickness is 1 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and use this for those 3 pieces. I actually find that I like the thick suede for this. I've been using this for a while for this. And it's such junk. Okay, I'm switching to my leather cutting scissors here. These are just sharper. Alright, that's done. And that can go in the zippy. Alright. Look at all these little pieces. Alright. This needs to go on the front so I can get the faux stitches in. This needs to go on the front so I get the faux stitches in. But the rest of these go on the back. And I think, just so I don't lose these, just gonna go ahead and get that filler piece, stick it here, get that filler piece, stick that there. Good. I'm undecided on whether I want to waste the leather on these, so I'm just going to put them in the bag. Okay. Now, finding none of this is really going to be seen. It's not going to be seen. It's going to be covered. These will. This part here will. Well, this part of this, the surcingle, will, yes. But the billet, the pulley, and these, and the flaps, they're not going to be seen. So, that makes it easy. I can find kind of a flawed area, which this is. It's got some scratches, it's got a little dimple there. So, I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. Okay, these will be seen. I think I'm going to put them right in here if they fit. They're not going to fit. Alright, let's go ahead and cut this out so I know what I have. Alrighty. Let's see. Ooh, that is just gonna fit right there. That'll blend really good. I know it looks streaky, but this will blend really good. Believe me. Go ahead and do those there. So many choices. Put that aside. All right, let's see. Stirrups and the spacers. So kind of like that for them right there, because then I can use that really narrow piece. So that's where I put them. Beautiful. There you go. Alright, now these, they're such small pieces. They really are small pieces. So, I like that. Oops. Okay. So, those are the pieces attached to their material type. And now I'm not going to make you watch me cut these out, but we will be back when it's time to do like some of the details. So I'll cut them all out, and then the little holes and all of those little lines that are there, I'll try and explain those. But I'll do that, and then I will be back. Okay, so I got all the pieces cut out, but there's some I want to talk about. First of all, the panel. We can just, these that say save for stuffing, go ahead and save those. You can take the paper off on those. For the actual panel, you need to keep these as guides. So, and when we go to assemble, it'll make sense. But you can take off this one first. Because your first step will be to sew around this way, and then once that's done, you turn it inside out, and then you use this for these lines. So don't throw this piece of paper away. You need that like that, okay? All right, let's see. I recommend to use a knife to cut out this and this, a razor knife, or because it's really hard to do with scissors. So That's what I would recommend. If you're going to do the stitch line, you can do it with a needle on a stick, you know, and just make your, it doesn't show up really well, it's so tiny, so I'll probably go ahead and do a tool. So I'll just put a little and then just emboss around that, so that's a much deeper impression. Now we do need this for a D-ring and this for a D-ring, and we need this for a D-ring, and we need this for a D-ring, and then we need to score it. Just score, don't cut it off, just kind of very lightly score this. And so what happens is, and only to there, because I need to take that off. And then we can do these. Tip snipping, what I mean by that is if you did this, there's a possibility when you tip snip that it actually will tear, and at the very tip. So I don't like tip snipping, so I don't recommend doing that. That's why I think the blade is better. So I'll make sure the sharp side is down. Okay. If you can hear that, my dog is drinking water. If you can't, then don't worry about it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do that to the other side. Now this is placed on the right side, right? That's on the right side of the leather, so that needs to be soaked. You have to soak that off so you don't ruin or accidentally pull the dye off the front. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that to the other side off camera. This one here, I guarantee you're going to be happier if you just kind of take a little bit of that off of there. In fact, I would, even though it doesn't say to skive, I would usually try to take off, and this is easier to do on the edge, and this is also on the right side. Just because I find it easier to get this to fit if I have a little bit thinner just around this outer edge. Okay, so again, this is going to be stitching, or the faux stitching, but because I tooled the other one, I'm going to go ahead and tool this one, and then I'll just emboss it, because I have to get it wet anyways, and yeah, I just find this easier than the stitching, but you can do whatever it is that you want. So I'm just, it's the same thing as scoring. That's what this is. I'm just a really slight line, and so I won't make you watch that, but you get a general idea of what I'm doing, and then I'll do the other side off camera, because these videos can get really long, but so you get that idea, and then once I do both sides, I can soak the paper off. Okay, now these need to be thinned, and this again, this is I find using the rolled edge of my board is easier with these pieces, because I can push it down and not accidentally skive too much off. So I take a lot of wood off my board, so I don't know if you can even see that. I don't have a microscope camera, but anyways, I recommend doing that all the way around. It will make it all the layers fit better if you skive those. Alright, note on these, I don't do the stitching, and unless I'm using a vegetable tanned tooling leather that might be vegetable tanned skiver that might hold the pattern. I don't do the stitching on this. You do not need these two. So don't do those, you don't need them. Okay, those slits, but I do need to this one I'm not gonna, it's not gonna be like a show saddle. It's gonna be a endurance, and they wouldn't have, endurance saddle is utilitarian, then it's not gonna be all dressy. Okay, so do that for both of those. Alright, now this one here, if you're not doing your rear pulleys, don't do anything with those back here in the back. These, the solid line, you're going to cut all the way through. And the dotted line, we're just going to score it. Alright, so what we end up with is that becomes your front of your pulley, right? And then your knee brace, so that's the front. Then you put the additional layers behind it, and it makes a nice rounded knee block. Alright, so score the dotted line and then cut. And if you go all the way through, you'll have to cut this piece again because it's structure. It has to be attached to these lower flaps, or it's just going to fall off. Okay, so there we go. Okay, take the paper off of that. Alright, last piece to look at. You do not need the rear pulley. Don't do the rear pulley. You do not need these two D slits. Okay, what you do need is, that is for your surcingle, so you need that. This is for your stirrups. This is your stirrup bar flap, or stirrup flap, whatever you want to call it. You do need that. And then we absolutely need the front pulley. Slit. And of course, you have to really do this with a blade. My arm's falling asleep. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Alright, so that is where your stirrup leathers come through, and then that's where your surcingle goes down to attach to the girth. Alright, so I'll do that to the other side, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, next step. I've taken off the paper. Just so you know, you don't have to take the paper off of that. If it falls off, it's no big deal. I just leave it on, and it usually stays. Okay, so all of your tooling leather pieces, except for your small pulley liners and your billet, you do need on your surcingle, and maybe your spacers. Everything else, I'm going to go ahead and do those anyways, but everything else needs edge coat. Edge coat or Sharpie. So that would be next. Important note, make sure you get along here. And if you're not sure if it'll show or not, just go ahead and edge coat it. It's good practice. That's from the wrong direction. Yeah, make sure you edge coat. Now you don't need to do it in there because that's going to be covered, but the actual pulleys themselves, that's going to show. This back edge won't show, but the rest of the flap will, except here where there's piping and the inside. But until you know that about it, just go ahead and edge coat everything, okay? And that, once you get those edge coated, these will also need to be edge coated, but these are the ones where I did the faux stitching, and so now, yeah, really can see it so well. So I am going to take a stylus. Where's my stylus? Where did my stylus go? There it is. Okay, I'm going to take a stylus, and I have to change glasses for this because I can't see anything. And I'm just going to go in and basically push in here so that it shows, but otherwise it's just a waste of effort. So I'm just going to go ahead and find where I did that light scoring, and I'm just going to push it down. And I don't know how well that's going to show on the camera. I don't know if my autofocus can do that close. But you see, it's just a slight difference. But you can't, I mean, you can't see my score line. You wouldn't be able to see the little pen marks anyways. Needle. Okay, and so this one is going to be the same thing. Just kind of push around the edge so that it highlights the pattern. And it doesn't have to be, you know, really, it's easier to do when it's a little bit drier. This is still wet, so I'll probably let that dry a bit, but I'm going to do the same thing here so that I just kind of push it in, and it shows better than just pen or needle pricks. Okay, so that's next. Emboss. That's what I'm going to do, unless you don't want to, that's fine. And then do the edge coat.